Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inshallah today we will present our assessment on title Application of Bait Pisamanin Ajil in Maybank. Before we start, I would like to introduce my group members. First, Muhammad Aidil Fakhri bin Muhammad Khairi. Second, Muhammad Azli bin Abdul Sani. Third, Muhammad Hakim bin Muhammad Yahya. Fourth, Muhammad Haikal bin Muhammad Khairi. And the last one Muhammad Adam Adha bin Wan Zuki. The objective of our presentation are: first, to state the meaning and pillars of Bait Bisamanin Ajil. Second, to clarify the method used on Bait Bisamanin Ajil contracts in home financing in Malaysia. Third, to identify the issues in Bait Bisamanin Ajil. And the last one, fourth, to discuss the product features of Bait Bisamanin Ajil in Maybank. Muamalat is one of FIC component, with commercial transaction being the most significant to the Islamic financial system. In Islam, muamalat is founded on the concept of akad, which refers to the contract between the parties concerned. In Islam, there are many different forms of contract, including mudarabah, bait salam, bait inah, bait bisamanin ajil, istisna, ijarah, and others. The application of bait bisamanin ajil is the type of financing that be the most popular contract. Bait bisamanin ajil contract had a similar procedure to murabahah in the Middle East. However, both contracts are known as a separate item in Malaysia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Aidil Fakhri bin Muhammad Khairi. Okay, let's look at the definition of a bait bistaman ajil. The meaning of a bait bistaman ajil in term of language is a sale contract by difference payment. In term of terminology, it is a difference payment method and agree between the seller and the buyer. Okay, this contract involve three party, namely the seller or the developer, the customer, and the bank. The bank will help the customer to get the goods from the seller or developer, but the customer will have to pay periodically to the bank in installment according to the agreements agreed between all party. Okay, next slide. Okay, let's look at the source for Saman Ajil. Allah state in Surah An-Nisa verse 29. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu la taqulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil illa an takuna tijaratan an taradin minkum wa la taqtulu anfusakum innallaha kana bikum rahima. Meaning, believers, do not devour one another possession wrongfully. Rather than that, let there be trading by mutual conscience. You shall not kill yourself. Solely Allah is ever compassionate to you. Okay, this verse describe the law of transaction in general. More specifically, to trade transaction, business of buying and selling, and strictly prohibited people from consuming other people property or their own property in wrong way. Consuming one own property in wrong way is spending one property in way of immorality. Consuming other people property in wrong way in various ways such as usury, gambling, cheating, and persecution. Also included in all sales that are prohibited by Sharia. Okay, next slide. Okay, let's look the source from the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Aisyah radhiyallahu anha an-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam ashtara min Yahudi ta'aman illa ajalin maklumin wa ratahana minhu dir'an min hadid. Okay, meaning from the Aisyah radhiyallahu anha, which means indeed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam bought food from a Jewish by deferred payment to a specific period, and he made his armor as a guarantee. Okay, this hadith show that bersamaan ajal was one practice by Rasulullah SAW himself, who bought food from a person by deferred payment. Okay, next slide. Okay, pillars of baik bersamaan ajal. There are three pillars of contract required by the Sharia in baik bersamaan ajal. First, buyer and the seller. Two, property and price. Third, akad ijab and kabul. Okay, first, buyer and the seller. Okay, among condition that need to be met by both party are mukallaf, which is property, intelligent and mutually pleased with each other. Okay, in Malaysia, customer must comply with the condition set by the bank. Okay, among the conditions are customer age limit is at least 18 years old. The purpose is for the customer to be able to make judgment from a prudent mind to take responsibility for the financing he received. Be responsible for paying the debt instrument and manage the finance property properly. Okay, condition number two is the customer has income of 1/3 of the monthly salary or equal to the monthly instrument payment to be paid. Customer can also share with the others if their income does not qualify. Okay, pillars number two is property and price. Okay, the condition of the property and the price are first, secrets. The property, finance, and the price paid must consist of property that are sacred in terms of Islamic law. This means property are clean in sense instances in halal in law. Okay, condition number two is beneficial. The financing item and the price paid must consist of the type of property that can be utilized in term of Islamic law. Okay, pillars number three is akad ijab and kabul. Okay, okay. The word akad of the agreement uttered by the seller is referred to as ijab, and the word akad uttered by the buyer is referred to as kabul. The condition of uh, uh, the condition of ijab and kabul must be clear, must be a clear utterance, must be uttered with the pressure of both parties. Sirah akad must be uttered by a rational person. Next slide.
Next, flow, transaction and modus operandi of baik bisa manin ajil in Maybank. In Malaysia, firstly, the application of this contract will be started by the customer who will identify the property that they want, such as a house, from the property vendor or a developer. Then, they need to make an agreement by signing a sale and purchase agreement with the property vendor. Here, the customer also need to pay the deposit 10% from the total amount during this transaction. For an example, the buyer need to pay 10% from 200,000 ringgit, which is 20,100 ringgit for the deposit amount. Next, the buyer will then turn to the Islamic banking for the remaining balance, which will be financed through a baik bisa manin ajal contract. The bank will pay a purchase price for the house and sign a property purchase agreement (PPA) with the customer. This agreement states that the customer will sell their property to the bank for the same amount as a loan. The remaining 90% of the total price will be paid to the property vendor by the bank, or the money will be paid to the customer who will then pay the vendor. Thirdly, the bank will sell the asset or a property back to the customer for the whole amount paid by the bank, plus profit. In this contract, a property sale agreement, or we call PSA, is also involved. The property sale agreement PSA should be signed to allow the bank to sell the asset back to the client at a markup price that include the bank profit on the sale. Lastly, the customer will pay the bank in an installment for the purchase price, long financing term up to 30 years or age of 60, or up to 40 years or the age of 70 for professional and graduates or either earlier.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Wan Adam and now I will explain about the issues in baik bersamanya ajil. There are four issues in baik bersamanya ajil. First, the dilemma on the asset ownership. Since the baik bersamanya ajil contract is actually a sales contract, it requires the transfer of ownership of both parties to the transaction, whether it is cash or deferred, which leads to another problem, the question of ownership. It is actually a kind of sales contract. The transfer of ownership and the taking of possession must take place, but the ownership of the parts of the goods could be interpreted according to custom and can take place differently depending on the type. According to Malaysian BBA practice, the execution of PPA and PSA in the facility should result in the transfer of ownership regardless of whether the transfer is registered or not. Second issue is selling of the non-existent. There is an issue regarding ongoing property construction because in BBA financing for homes under construction, the transacted property still does not exist. Even if Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim's view, which enables the sale of non-existent subject matter, is applied, the judgment is based on the near certainty of delivery. Therefore, to prevent such problems, banks are advised to employ other methods of financing for property under development or future delivery, such as istisna contract. In istisna, the subject of istisna, or we call it as mustasna, is not yet available, but will be made available by the manufacturer or developer later. Okay, the third issue is clause on right to recall the facility. The bank has the legal right to recall the facility, reclaim the property and terminate the facility according to the conventional loan agreement. The situation is different in the case of BBA financing because of the PSA agreement. As a result, the standard clause on right to recall is inapplicable to the BBA facility. However, this clause can be included in the BBA financing facility with certain modification. The last issue is different pricing for cash and credit sales. There are few minority scholars who oppose selling the deferred product at a higher price than the current price because it is a kind of riba nasiah. Majma' Fiqh Islami decided that by taqsid or installment is lawful in Sharia. Plus, majority of scholars also allow different pricing for both normal sales and BBA. Ibn Qayyim, for example, says it is permissible due to the transaction does not have any prohibited element, plus there is no single evidence that this form of pricing is illegal.
Right now, I will talk about Maybank background. Maybank Malaysia is a limited financial institution based in Kuala Lumpur. Maybank was established in 1968 as a Marine Banking Berhad and now known as Maybank Malaysia Berhad. It was founded by Mr. Kortek and some of her partners. Under the government development program, the clear and simple goal of establishing Maybank is to assist in financing new industry and expanding banking facilities to non-existent rural areas. Maybank has decided to have a distinctive image of Malaysia in line with the new state of national identity. Next, Maybank Banking had begun. 12 September 1960, Maybank started their operation in downtown Kuala Lumpur. Next, in 1961, 12 September also was first anniversary of Maybank Banking Berhad. They had a network of 30 branches in Malaysia. Maybank Banking Berhad has grown rapidly and had 183 branches just in 3 years in 1963. In 1963, also Malay Banking Berhad expanded into Singapore with the establishment of Malay Banking, which is in the capital of Singapore. Next, in 1966, Malay Banking Berhad had 108 branches, which one is in London, Howard, and Hong Kong. Now, Malay Banking Berhad has operate in 20 countries, including Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, Pakistan, Cambodia, India, and others. Maybank Islamic Berhad. Maybank Islamic Berhad is the Maybank Islamic financial subsidiary. It's the largest Islamic bank in Asia, with total assets of over 91 billion Indonesia and market share dominating practically all main segments. Maybank Islamic Berhad aspires to be the industry leader in cross-border business development and worldwide expansion. Maybank Islamic also places a strong emphasis on Sharia governance and rigorous risk management system. Vision and mission of Maybank. Vision: advising ASEAN and mission. According to the Maybank Annual Report 2018, Maybank mission is to humanize financial services, which means they will fulfill their customers' mission by building trusted relationships that last for generations through thick and thin. They believe in treating all their stakeholders fairly and in simplifying financial solutions. They're also providing the people with convenient access to financing, having fair terms and pricing, advising customer based on their needs, and being at the heart of the community. That's all.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Haikal bin Muhammad Khairi. Today I want to present about Baik Bithaman Ajil products in Maybank. First of all, product in Maybank is variable rates, Sharia compliant home financing based on Baik Bithaman Ajil concept. First is financing margin. Financing margin is up to 100% with term takaful mortgage. There's the MRTT, and takaful residential building is HBT. Next, up to 90% without mortgage. Term takaful is MRTT, and building takaful resident is HBT. Second is financing period. Financing period is up to 30 years or age 60 years, whichever is earlier, or up to 40 years or age 70, whichever is earlier, professional and graduates. Next is features and benefits. First, based on Baik Bithaman Ajil principle, is deferred payment sales. Second, a permanent staggered or change profit rate option. Next, no compounding profit charge and others. Then no yearly charging or lock penalty solution period. Next, ceiling rate protection when basic financing rate is BFR, fluctuation over the period. Next, competitive rate financing and financing margin. Next, lower monthly installments with longer pay periods up to 40 years or up to 70 years, whichever is. And then higher financing qualification up to 70% of your gross income, and higher financing margin up to 100% home value, including capitalization of related expenses such as MRTT contribution. Next is MRTT coverage, which completes your pending mortgage and transfer the property of your family in the event of death or total and permanent disability. Then reduction of 20% on stamp duty for new financing and a conversion waiver of conventional facilities. And then third party finance authorized. And lastly, rebate grant for initial settlement. And next is terms and condition. Please use our Maybank Islamic calculator to help your financial needs. And next, who can apply? Who can apply is all individual, equal applicants, residents and non-residents. Scope on product in Maybank is financing of residential property purchase, whether complete or a unit under construction. And next, refinancing your existing mortgage from other financial institution and saving profits. And next, remortgage your residential property is free from encumbrance and obtaining additional cash. And then additional financing for your personal investment needs, any contingency or home improvement, purchase of empty land and bungalow, construction on top, conversion of conventional loans to Islamic financing, and organize your mortgage now to meet your current financial needs, and property minimum value of 75,000 ringgit and minimum financing amount 10,000 ringgit. Basic feature is ordinary up to 30 years or age 60 years, whichever is earlier. And then professional and graduates up to 40 years or age 65 years, whichever is earlier, and financing margin. And next is variable financing rate. Under VRF, the selling price is set first based on the selling rate, while the effective rate applies to the account can be changed based on change in basic financing rates, on condition that is those not exceed the fixed rate of sale. If BFR move up to the extent that the effective rate exceed the fixed selling rate, the system will only calculate the profit based on selling price. Required documents. Please bring along the following documents when you visit our branch. First of all is compulsory document identification, such as identification cards, new valid passport and visa, permit and job pass. For self-employed applicant, please enter the business form registration. And next is compulsory documents of property, such as copy of sales and receipt purchase, reservation or letter of offer from developer, copy of deed, title individual. And next is property valuation report. For ready home, mandatory proof income. To earn income group, the latest 3 consecutive months of commission statements, the latest EPF statements, the latest EA forms, bank statements for the latest 6 months, and job verification letters and remunerations. For self-employment, please bring certified audited financial statement, recent statement commission issue by the company, EPF statement latest B, BE from e-filing, tax recent payment, receipt 6-month bank statements. So for conclusion, it's clear that by Bisaman Ajil funding mechanism conforms to Sharia law and no component of riba. The financing mechanism of BBA is doled out in accordance with the law of sales and get in Islam. Furthermore, the pillars and conditions are constants. because the pillars of sale and purchase in Islam. In addition, for the sale and purchase of baik bisaman ajil shall have specific akad, that is akad the financier pronounced with the shopper before the professional, and therefore the client should receive the contents of the agreement initial in accordance with the claim required by Allah. And next, furthermore, that has tried the Islamic banking team gain trust in spite of race and religion. In addition, baik bisaman ajil funding will match standard loan transaction involving usury. It's clear that baik bisaman ajil financing is in compliance with Sharia law and no component of riba. And next is automatic financing operation in Islamic banks are based on Islamic law, which is different in spirit, process and practice from conventional banks. Today, Islamic banks operate in globally integrated banking sector characterized by strong competition and rapid technological change. As the self-financing provided by Islamic banks is generally from that of conventional banking, Islamic banks will have to compete on the basis of the high quality and flexibility of the products and procedures offered by the financial staff to their clients in order to obtain a competitive advantage over their rivals. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.